The phone rings exactly as Caleb dumps his bowl of cereal across the kitchen table. Milk cascades onto my freshly ironed blouse, and I bite back a curse while fumbling for my cell. The number isn't familiar, but I've been waiting for this call. Is this Sutton Reynolds? Yes, speaking. I'm already dabbing at my blouse with a paper towel, watching the milk seep deeper into the fabric. This is Margaret from Riverside Technologies. We'd like to offer you the position of Senior Project Manager. My hand freezes mid-dab. The salary she quotes makes my knees weak. It's double what I'm making now. Double. The kind of money that could pull us out of this paycheck-to-paycheck existence, maybe even let us move out of this cramped rental. There's just one detail, Margaret continues. The position requires regular travel between our 3 offices. You'll need reliable transportation. Our ancient Honda with its check engine light permanently illuminated flashes through my mind. The same car that left us stranded 3 times last month. Of course, I lie smoothly. That won't be a problem. After hanging up, I stare at Caleb, who's now finger painting with spilled milk. Baby, Mommy just got some really good news. Better than pancakes? He looks up hopefully. Way better than pancakes. I scoop him up, milk sticky hands and all, and spin him around. His giggle is pure sunshine. Brandon walks in, still in his ratty weekend sweats. What's all the excitement about? I got the job. I set Caleb down. The Riverside position. It's happening. His face lights up, then dims slightly. That's amazing, but don't they need you to travel? In our car. We'll figure it out. We can use the anniversary trip money. Elaine's anniversary trip? Brandon's expression shifts. Honey, you know how much Mom's been looking forward to that. And there it is. The shadow of my mother-in-law, falling across every major decision we make. Elaine, with her guilt-laden sighs and passive-aggressive suggestions about how we should live our lives. Elaine, who's been planning her lavish anniversary celebration for months, expecting us to foot a significant portion of the bill. Brandon, this is our future we're talking about. A real chance to get ahead. I know, but he runs a hand through his hair. Maybe we can find another way. Mom's done so much for us. The doorbell chimes, right on cue. Speaking of the devil. Grandma. Caleb races to the door before I can stop him. Elaine sweeps in, designer handbag swinging, perfectly coiffed as always. There's my precious boy. She scoops up Caleb, then eyes my milk-stained blouse with barely concealed disdain. Oh dear Sutton. Having a rough morning. Actually, I just got some wonderful news. I force a smile. I was offered that job I interviewed for. The one that requires all that traveling? Her lips purse. But who will look after Caleb? You know how important stability is for children his age. We'll manage, I say firmly. In fact, we're thinking of using the anniversary trip money to buy a reliable car instead. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Elaine sets Caleb down slowly, her face a mask of hurt that doesn't quite reach her eyes. I see. She smooths her expensive blazer. Well, I suppose some people prioritize career over family. Though I always hoped you'd make different choices than your own mother did, Sutton. The barb hits its mark with surgical precision. My hands clench into fists beneath the kitchen counter. Brandon shifts uncomfortably, caught between wife and mother, as usual. Mom, we can discuss this later, he attempts. But I've had enough of later. Enough of tiptoeing around Elaine's feelings while she tramples over mine. Something inside me hardens, crystallizes. No, I say quietly. We'll discuss it now. 3 days after the kitchen confrontation, I find Elaine sitting cross-legged on our living room floor with Caleb, surrounded by photo albums I've never seen before. And here's your daddy when he was your age, she coos, pointing to a faded photograph. Notice how neat his room is? Unlike what? I interrupt, setting down my grocery bags harder than necessary. Elaine doesn't flinch. Oh, Sutton. I was just showing Caleb some family history. Something he should know about, don't you think? The way she emphasizes family makes my skin crawl. I notice Caleb's toys have been meticulously arranged on his shelf, not how I left them this morning. Mommy, Grandma says you're making Daddy sad. Caleb pipes up, innocent eyes wide. Is that true? The room goes still. I feel heat rising in my chest, but keep my voice steady. No, baby. That's not true at all. Why don't you go play in your room while I talk to Grandma? Once he's gone, I turn to Elaine. How dare you? I'm simply concerned. She closes the album with careful precision. Brandon's been so stressed lately. The way he picks at his food, barely sleeps. Just like when his father left. The comparison lands like a slap. This is nothing like that. I'm trying to improve our lives. By destroying what we've built? She stands, smoothing her expensive slacks. First the anniversary trip, now this new job taking you away from your family. It's like watching history repeat itself. What's that supposed to mean? Well, dear, we both know how your mother chose her career over family. Though I suppose some patterns are hard to break. My fingers curl into fists. You had no right to come here without asking. And you absolutely have no right to fill my son's head with. The front door opens. Brandon walks in, stopping short at the tension in the room. Mom? What are you doing here? Just leaving, darling. Elaine gathers her purse, but pauses to touch Brandon's cheek. You look tired. Are you eating enough? I watch my husband lean into her touch, just slightly. Something twists in my stomach. After she leaves, Brandon sighs. What happened? Your mother happened. She was here poisoning our son against me. Come on, Sutton. She's just worried. About what? That I might actually succeed? That we might not need her money anymore. That's not fair. He runs a hand through his hair. She's helped us through some rough times. And she never lets us forget it. I lower my voice, conscious of Caleb upstairs. She's using our son to manipulate us, Brandon. Can't you see that? He moves to the kitchen, avoiding my eyes. Maybe if we compromise on the anniversary trip. This isn't about the trip anymore. I follow him. It's about your mother thinking she can control our lives because she's helped us financially. She's family Sutton. What do you want me to do? I want you to choose us. Your wife and son. Not your mother's guilt trips and manipulation. Brandon starts making coffee, his movements jerky. It's not that simple. Actually, it is. I grab my keys. I'm going to look at cars tomorrow. With or without your support. Sutton. And one more thing. Your mother doesn't come here unless we're both home. No more surprise visits. He sets down the coffee pot too hard, liquid sloshing. You're acting like she's some kind of threat. Isn't she? I meet his gaze. When was the last time you made a decision without wondering what she'd think? The silence stretches between us. Upstairs, I hear Caleb humming to himself, oblivious to the fractures forming beneath our feet. I need some air, Brandon finally says, heading for the door. Running to your mother's? He stops, hand on the doorknob. Maybe I am. At least she doesn't make me choose sides. The door closes behind him with a quiet click that echoes like a gunshot. I stand in our kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of Elaine's visit. Reorganized cabinets, folded dish towels. All the little ways she marks her territory. My phone buzzes. A text from the dealership confirming tomorrow's appointment. I stare at it, thinking about choices and consequences, about the fine line between revenge and self-preservation. Upstairs, Caleb calls out, Mommy? Can we look at more pictures? I delete the text. Some battles need to be fought differently. The supermarket feels like neutral territory until I spot Martha examining tomatoes 2 aisles over. I duck behind a display of cereal boxes, but it's too late. She's already waving, walking over with that concerned smile I've grown to hate. Sutton, dear. I've been meaning to call you. Of course she has. Martha, Elaine's eternal echo chamber. I force a smile. Hello, Martha. Such a shame about the tension lately. She lowers her voice conspiratorially. Elaine's been beside herself, you know. Barely sleeping. Really? I examine a box of cornflakes with unnecessary intensity. That must be why she had enough energy to reorganize my entire kitchen yesterday. Martha's smile tightens. She means well. We're all just worried about Caleb with all these changes you're planning. What changes would those be, exactly? Well, she glances around, then leans closer. The new job, moving away from family support, following in your mother's footsteps. The cereal box crumples slightly in my grip. Who said anything about moving away? Oh. Martha's hand flies to her mouth. I just assumed with the new position. Elaine mentioned you'd been looking at houses in the next county. The lie hits me like a physical blow. I haven't looked at a single house. Haven't even considered moving. But here's Elaine, spinning her web of fabrications, turning family members against me one carefully crafted story at a time. Excuse me, I manage, abandoning my shopping cart. I find myself in my car, hands shaking as I dial Brandon's number. Straight to voicemail. Again. He's been avoiding my calls since our fight, probably holed up at his mother's house, letting her poison him with more lies. A text comes through, from my new boss. Looking forward to having you on board Monday. Car situation sorted. I start the engine, my decision crystallizing. The dealership is only 15 minutes away. I've got enough in my personal savings for a down payment, money I've been squirreling away in secret. My escape fund from years of financial dependence on Elaine's generosity. The dealership's lot is quiet when I arrive. I'm examining a sensible used sedan when I hear familiar voices around the corner. She's not thinking clearly, Brandon. Remember what happened with her mother? History repeating itself. I freeze. Elaine's voice, here of all places. I edge closer, staying hidden behind a row of cars. Mom, I know you're worried, but the house she looked at is 40 minutes away. 40 minutes from your job, from Caleb's school, from family. Just like her mother, always running away when things get difficult. What house? Brandon sounds confused. Sutton hasn't said anything about moving. Because she knows you'd object. I saw the realtor's card in her purse when I was tidying up. Always sneaking around that one. Just like, stop. Brandon's voice hardens. Just stop. I step out from behind the cars, slow clapping. They both whirl around. Bravo, Elaine. Really stellar performance. My voice sounds strange in my ears, calm despite the rage burning through me. Tell me, did you plant that realtor's card yourself, or did you just make it up completely? Elaine recovers quickly, her face arranging itself into concerned disappointment. Sutton, dear, we're only trying to help. By following me? By lying to my husband? By spreading rumors about me to the entire family. Brandon looks between us, realization dawning. Mom, what's going on? Your wife is destroying this family. Elaine snaps, mask finally cracking. Someone had to do something before. Before what? I step closer. Before I become financially independent? Before I stop needing your help? Before I can make decisions without your approval? Sutton, Brandon starts. No. I turn to him. You need to choose right now. Are you going to keep enabling this, or are you going to stand with your wife? The silence stretches. A salesman approaches, senses the tension, and quickly retreats. I should go, Elaine says finally, gathering her dignity around her like armor. Call me when she's being reasonable again, Brandon. She walks away, heels clicking on pavement. Brandon watches her go, then turns to me with tired eyes. We need to talk, he says. Yes, I agree, thinking of Martha in the supermarket, of Caleb's confused questions, of years of subtle manipulation. We really do. The email from Caleb's soccer coach arrives during my lunch break. Due to unexpected withdrawal of sponsorship, the Junior League program will be suspended indefinitely. My screen blurs. Elaine's fingerprints are all over this. She's been the program's primary donor for years. I close my laptop just as Brandon walks into my home office, holding a stack of papers. Did you see the email? His voice is tight. She works fast, I'll give her that. I stand up, needing to move. How many other programs has she pulled funding from? He spreads the papers across my desk. Caleb's art classes. The reading program. The summer camp deposit. All canceled, all refunded. It's not just about us anymore, Brandon says. The soccer program supported 20 kids from low-income families. That's the point. Maximum collateral damage for maximum guilt. I laugh, but it sounds hollow. Your mother's quite the strategist. We need to talk to her. No, what we need is independence. I grab my car keys. I'm picking up Caleb early. Coming. He hesitates. Mom invited us for dinner. To talk things through. Of course she did. I turn to face him. And if we go, she'll apologize tearfully, offer to reinstate everything with conditions. Same pattern, different day. She's still his grandmother. Is she? Because right now she's using him as a weapon. The drive to Caleb's school is silent. When we arrive, we find him sitting with his teacher, Mrs. Chen, who waves us into the classroom with unusual urgency. I'm glad you're both here, she says after Caleb goes to pack his bag. I'm concerned about some things Caleb's been saying. My stomach drops. What things? He mentioned that his grandmother told him you're planning to take him away from his father. Mrs. Chen's eyes are gentle but concerned. He's been drawing some troubling pictures. She slides a paper across her desk. The crayon drawing shows 3 figures, one blue, Brandon, one yellow, Caleb, and one red, me, walking in different directions. At the edge, a larger figure in black, Elaine, watches. He said his grandmother helps him understand why mommy wants to leave, Mrs. Chen continues. I thought you should know. Brandon's hands clench the edge of the tiny desk he's perched on. I watch his knuckles turn white. Thank you, I manage. We'll handle this. In the car, Caleb chatters about his day, oblivious to the tension. Brandon stares straight ahead, driving mechanically. I check my phone, 3 missed calls from Elaine. Let's get ice cream, Caleb suggests. Not today, buddy, Brandon says, making an unexpected turn. We need to stop somewhere first. I recognize the route to Elaine's house. Brandon. No more proxy wars through our son. His voice is different, harder than I've ever heard it. This ends today. We pull into Elaine's driveway. Through the window, I see her watering her precious roses, Martha beside her. They look up at our arrival, and something in Elaine's expression shifts. Triumph, maybe, thinking we've come to surrender. Grandma. Caleb unbuckles his seatbelt. Wait, Brandon says. He turns to our son with a gentleness that makes my throat tight. Remember how we talked about telling the truth? Even when it's hard. Caleb nods solemnly. We need to have a family talk about that right now. About truth and lies, and how they can hurt people we love. I watch Elaine approach the car, her perfect smile in place. But there's something else in her eyes now, fear, maybe seeing Brandon's expression. Ready? Brandon asks me. I think of the crayon drawing, of soccer programs canceled, of whispered poison in our son's ear, of years of subtle manipulation disguised as love. My hand finds Brandon's across the console. Ready. Caleb looks between us, sensing something important is happening. Outside, Elaine reaches for the car door, but Brandon hits the lock button. Just for a moment, just long enough to make it clear, this time we're in control of how this conversation starts. The anniversary party invitation sits on our counter like a loaded gun. Cream-colored paper, gold embossing, pure Elaine. I trace the letters with my finger while Brandon paces behind me. We have to go, he says. The whole family will be there. That's exactly why she's doing this. I turn the invitation over. 2 weeks after she manipulated our son, canceled his activities, and now she wants to play happy families? Maybe it's an olive branch. The doorbell rings. Caleb races to answer it before we can stop him. Martha stands there, holding a casserole dish. Just thought you could use a home-cooked meal, she says, gliding past me. And to make sure you received the invitation. Elaine's been so worried you might not come. I catch Brandon's eye. This is how it always starts. The subtle pressure, the guilt, the family emissaries. Actually, I say, we were just discussing. Oh, you must come. Martha sets down the dish. Elaine's planned such a lovely surprise. She's even arranged for that trip she promised. Brandon stiffens. What trip? The anniversary trip, of course. She's been so secretive about it, but I happened to see the bookings. Very generous of her, considering everything. My hands shake as I pour coffee. Elaine hasn't booked anything she can't have. Not after withdrawing support for Caleb's activities. Not after our confrontation. Caleb, honey, I call out. Go play upstairs for a bit. Once he's gone, I face Martha. There is no trip, is there? I saw the documents myself. Martha sips her coffee primly. First-class tickets. Luxury resort. Though I suppose if you're not interested. Stop. Brandon's voice cuts through the room. Just stop. Mom's manipulating everyone again, isn't she? Martha's cup clatters against its saucer. I don't know what you mean. The trip that doesn't exist. The rumors about Sutton. Using Caleb against us. All of it. Your mother only wants what's best. We'll be at the party, I interrupt, surprising everyone, including myself. All three of us. After Martha leaves, Brandon stares at me. What are you planning? Nothing. I start clearing dishes. Just tired of letting her control the narrative. The night of the party arrives too quickly. Elaine's house glows with fairy lights, packed with relatives who've flown in for the occasion. She greets us at the door, resplendent in designer silk. My darlings. She hugs Caleb tight, then whispers in my ear, so glad you made the right choice. I smile, remembering the USB drive in my purse. The one containing recordings of every conversation where she admitted to manipulating us, including her confession about the fake trip. The one I plan to play during her speech. The evening unfolds like a carefully choreographed dance. Elaine holds court, accepting congratulations, while subtly dropping hints about the surprise trip she's planned. I watch relatives' faces light up with anticipation, see them glance at me with judgment when they think I'm not looking. Finally, Elaine taps her glass for attention. Before I announce our surprise, I want to thank everyone for being here. Family is everything to me, especially in difficult times. Her eyes find mine across the room. Sometimes we face challenges, misunderstandings, but love prevails. Which is why my hand touches my purse. One move and I could expose everything. The lies, the manipulation, the psychological warfare waged through our child. But then I see Caleb, watching his grandmother with pure adoration. Brandon, tension visible in every line of his body. The collateral damage would be catastrophic. Elaine continues, which is why I'm announcing that instead of a trip, I'm establishing a trust fund for Caleb's education. The room erupts in applause. She's outmaneuvered me again, turning potential revenge into a poison pill. If I expose her now, I'm the ungrateful daughter-in-law destroying a grandmother's generous gesture. Brandon grips my hand under the table. We don't have to accept it. No, I say, watching Elaine bask in the family's approval. We don't. I stand up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. The room goes quiet. Elaine's smile freezes as I reach for my purse. Sometimes the best revenge isn't exposure, it's freedom. The silence in Elaine's study feels like a physical weight. The party guests have gone home, leaving behind empty champagne flutes and whispered judgments. Brandon stands by the window, while Caleb sleeps on the leather sofa, exhausted from the evening's drama. Well, Elaine says, perfectly composed despite everything. I assume you have something to say about my generous offer. I pull out the USB drive, place it on her mahogany desk. Actually, I have something to play. Her eyes narrow slightly. What is this? Everything. I press play on my phone connected to the drive. Her voice fills the room, crystal clear. Of course I made up the trip. Sometimes you need to create pressure to keep a family together. Brandon's sharp intake of breath cuts through the recording. I play another. Elaine instructing Martha about which rumors to spread, which neighbors to influence. Turn it off. Elaine's voice trembles slightly. There's more. I scroll through the files. Should we listen to you coaching Caleb about mommy wanting to leave? Or maybe your conversation about canceling his activities? I did what was necessary. She stands, smoothing her silk dress. Everything I've done has been for this family. No. Brandon moves from the window. Everything you've done has been for control. Brandon, darling. Don't. He holds up a hand. Just don't, Mom. Elaine's facade cracks, just slightly. You don't understand. When your father left, this isn't about Dad. Brandon's voice rises, and Caleb stirs on the sofa. This is about you manipulating everyone around you, including my son. I was protecting him. Elaine's composure shatters. From her. Just like her mother, always ready to abandon family for ambition. I saw the signs. The signs you invented? I stand up. The moving plans you made up? The lies you told everyone. They weren't lies. She grabs a folder from her desk, throws it open. I had proof. The realtor calls. The house listings. Brandon picks up the papers, examines them. These are fake. Mom, you forged these. Something shifts in Elaine's eyes, something desperate and dangerous. Martha, she calls out sharply. Martha appears in the doorway, holding an envelope. I'm sorry, Elaine. I can't do this anymore. What's in the envelope? I ask. The real estate listings. Martha's hands shake. The ones Elaine asked me to create, to make it look like Sutton was planning to leave. The room spins slightly. All this time, the depth of Elaine's manipulation went deeper than we imagined. Give me that. Elaine lunges for the envelope, but Martha steps back. No. Martha's voice strengthens. This has to stop. Elaine turns to Brandon, tears welling. Everything I did was to protect you, to keep our family together. Without me, without my help, we'll manage. Brandon's voice is ice. But you need help, Mom. Professional help. How dare you? She whirls on me. This is your doing. Turning my own son against me. Well, fine. You want independence? Let's see how you manage without my support. The trust fund, Caleb's school fees, everything gone. Mom. No, Brandon. They want freedom? Let them have it. But remember who was there for every scraped knee, every school payment, every crisis. Stop. Caleb's small voice cuts through the tension. He's sitting up on the sofa, eyes wide and frightened. Please stop fighting. The silence that follows is deafening. I move to comfort him, but he shrinks away from me, from all of us. I want to go home, he whispers. Elaine steps toward him. Sweetheart. Don't. Brandon picks up our son. Just don't, Mom. We're leaving. As we walk out, Elaine calls after us, you'll be back. You'll see I was right. You always come back. In the car, Caleb's quiet sobs fill the silence. Brandon drives mechanically, knuckles white on the steering wheel. I stare at the USB drive in my hand, wondering if revenge was worth the cost of our son's innocence. My phone buzzes, a text from my new boss. Looking forward to Monday. Car situation sorted. I close my eyes, feeling the weight of everything we've just lost, everything we still stand to lose. Sometimes winning feels exactly like losing. The family meeting wasn't my idea. Martha called it, inviting everyone to her house 3 days after the anniversary party disaster. I stand in her kitchen now, watching relatives filter in, their faces a mix of concern and curiosity. They need to know, Martha says, clutching a manila envelope. All of it. Brandon squeezes my hand as Elaine arrives last, head high, perfect as always, until she sees Martha's envelope. Her step falters just slightly. What's this about? She demands. Martha's hands shake as she opens the envelope. I've been keeping records. Receipts. Letters. Recordings. Everything you asked me to help you with over the years. The room goes still. Elaine's laugh sounds brittle. Martha, dear, you're being dramatic. Am I? Martha pulls out a stack of papers. The fake real estate listings were just the start. Should we discuss the anonymous letters you sent to Sutton's potential employers? Or the calls to Caleb's school about her supposed neglect? Gasps ripple through the room. I feel my knees weaken. I'd suspected, but the scope of it. You're lying, Elaine snaps, but her perfect mask is cracking. The trust fund announcement? Martha continues. There never was one. You were going to announce its cancellation today. Blame Sutton for forcing your hand. Brandon steps forward. Mom, everything I did was for this family. Elaine's voice rises. You were all too blind to see the danger. Just like with your father, Brandon. Remember how he left? How he chose his new life over us? I saw the same signs in her. No. Martha's voice strengthens. You created those signs. Just like you did with Dad. The room goes silent. Elaine's face drains of color. What? Brandon whispers. Martha pulls out one final document, yellowed with age. Dad didn't leave us for another woman, Elaine. You drove him away. Just like you're trying to do with Sutton. Elaine lunges for the letter, but Martha holds firm. Enough. I step forward, surprising everyone. This ends now. You don't understand, Elaine pleads. I was protecting. No. My voice is steady. You were controlling. There's a difference. I gave you everything. She whirls on Brandon. Everything. And this is how you repay me. By finding the truth? Brandon's voice cracks. By finally seeing what you've done to all of us? A sound from the doorway makes us turn. Caleb stands there, clutching his backpack, the one we'd packed for his cousin to watch him during the meeting. Grandma. His voice is small. Did you tell lies about Mommy? The moment hangs, crystalline and fragile. Elaine takes a step toward him, but Brandon moves first. Yes, buddy, he says gently. Grandma told lies. But that doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Then why? Caleb's question cuts through all the adult complexity to the heart of things. Elaine crumples into a chair, her perfect facade finally shattering completely. Because I was afraid, she whispers. So afraid of being alone. The irony hits like a physical blow. In trying to keep everyone close, she's pushed them all away. Martha moves to her sister's side, places a hand on her shoulder. It's time to get help, Elaine. Real help. I watch my mother-in-law, this woman who's caused so much pain, who's also clearly in pain herself, and feel something shift inside me. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. The trust fund, the activities, the financial support, I say quietly. Keep them. We don't need them anymore. Brandon nods. What we need is boundaries. And time. And therapy, Martha adds firmly. Elaine looks up, tears tracking through her perfect makeup. For the first time, I see her clearly, not as an antagonist to be defeated, but as a wounded person who wounded others. I don't know how to be different, she whispers. That's okay, I surprise myself by saying. You can learn. We all can. Caleb approaches cautiously, takes his grandmother's hand. In that simple gesture, I see both the cost of revenge and the possibility of healing. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in choosing to break the cycle of hurt. The brochure for the wellness retreat sits between us on Martha's kitchen table. Elaine stares at it like it might bite. It's not punishment, Martha says gently. Think of it as a reset. I watch Elaine's perfectly manicured fingers trace the retreat's name. 3 weeks of therapy, meditation, and family counseling, all arranged by Martha, who's finally stepping out of her sister's shadow. And after? Elaine's voice is smaller than I've ever heard it. After depends on you, Brandon says. He's standing by the window where our new used car is parked outside, bought with my first paycheck from the new job. Not fancy, but ours. Caleb asked about you yesterday. I say, surprising everyone, including myself. He wants to know if you'll be at his soccer game next month. Elaine's head snaps up. But I thought, after everything. Limited contact, Brandon clarifies. Supervised visits. Small steps. Why? Elaine's question is directed at me. After everything I did, why offer even that much? I think about the letter I found in my mailbox this morning, from my own mother, responding to the one I sent her last week. The first contact in 15 years. Some cycles need to be broken. Because revenge wasn't the answer, I say. I almost became what I was fighting against. Martha pulls out one final document, a contract of sorts. Professional therapy requirements, communication boundaries, consequences clearly outlined. No more financial manipulation, no unsupervised time with Caleb, no surprise visits. It's non-negotiable, Brandon says as Elaine reads. She nods slowly, then does something I've never seen before. She takes off her perfect pearl necklace, the one she always wears like armor. I spoke to your father, she tells Brandon. After everything came out. He's willing to tell you his side of the story, if you want to hear it. Brandon's sharp intake of breath is the only sound in the room. I reach for his hand, find it trembling slightly. One thing at a time, he manages. Elaine signs the contract without further comment. As Martha helps her pack for the retreat, I step outside, needing air. The morning is crisp, full of possibility. Brandon joins me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. You okay? Are any of us? He chuckles softly. Fair point. Inside, we hear Caleb's voice. He's arrived with his aunt, who's been watching him. He's showing Elaine his new soccer cleats, bought with money we earned ourselves. Her response is muted, careful, she's trying. It's strange, I say. I wanted revenge so badly. Wanted to expose everything, make her hurt like we hurt. But now I just want peace. Real peace, Not the fake kind we had before. The front door opens. Elaine steps out, suitcase in hand. She looks smaller somehow, without her usual perfect facade. Sutton, she calls softly. That job of yours. The one that started all this. Are you good at it? Yes, I say simply. I am. She nods, something like respect flickering across her face. Good? That's good. As Martha drives her away, Caleb slips his small hand into mine. Is Grandma sick? Not exactly, Brandon answers. She's learning to be better. Like when I had to learn not to hit Tommy at school? I laughed to spite myself. Something like that. Inside, I find a USB drive with all the recordings. My planned revenge, my evidence, my ammunition. I turn it over in my hands while Brandon makes coffee and Caleb chatters about soccer. Keep it or destroy it? Brandon asks, watching me. I think about cycles, about choices, about the fine line between justice and vengeance, about my mother's letter, waiting to be read, about Elaine's pearl necklace, left behind on Martha's table like a surrender flag. Neither, I decide, tucking it away in a drawer. Just in case. But hopefully we'll never need it. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well on your own terms. And sometimes healing comes not from winning the battle, but from choosing which battles are worth fighting at all.